Okay, now we will design the DFA to accept the string 0 and 1 ending with 1 1. So what is a step 1? What is a step 1? What is a minimal string? What is a minimal string? See here, you read out the statement again. Accept the string 0 and 1 ending with 1 1. Whatever may be the string, it should always end with 1 1. So that means 1 1 is the compulsory substring, should be there in the string, irrespective it has any number of zeros and ones before 1 1. That means the minimum string it should have like this. It can have any number of zeros, any number of ones before this substring. So the minimal string is 1 1. If you have a string 1 1, it should get accepted. So the minimal string is 1 1. So what is step 2? Language. Language. So what is the symbols we have? We have 0 and 1. So what is step 3? Skeleton. Skeleton of DFA. So we'll start with Q0. Then what's the minimum? We'll start that skeleton designing with the minimal string. Q0 upon symbol 1, it will go to Q1. Q1 upon consumption of input symbol 1, it should go to a final state Q2. So it should have a minimal string 1 1, and that should end up in the final state Q2. Okay, this is the skeleton of DFA. This step 3 is completed. Now we start with step 4. Transition table. How many states we have? Look at here, we have Q0, Q1, Q2. So we have Q0, Q1 and Q2. And look at the language, what we have 0, 1. We have 0 and we have 1. Okay, so Q0 upon 1, what happens? We are at Q1. Q0 upon 0, that means delta of Q0 upon 0 is what? So Q0 upon 0, where we have to move. See, any number of 0 or 1 can be there, but the acceptance should be 1 1. That means if we have 0, then it should be a self transition, because you can have like this, or like this. So at Q1, at Q0, if you have 0, if you have a self transition, then you can have these many type of strings that is accepted. So Q0 upon 0, there is a self transition. Next, Q1 upon 1. At the skeleton, if we start looking at a skeleton, Q1 upon 1, you will be landing to Q2. But what is delta of Q1 comma 0? What happens here? So at Q1, if you try to do a transition, self transition in the skeleton, what happens? 1001, 1000, like this it will come. But what is our condition? Our string should always end with 1 1. Okay, you cannot have self transition here. Okay, you cannot have Q1 upon 0, you cannot go to Q2, because 1 1 0 or 1 0 will also get accepted if you go to Q2. So what you have to do? try to move back q1 upon 0. If you move back to q1, so always you will get, if you have 0 at q1 and if you go to q0, always to navigate from q0 to q2 you should always have the path 1 1. So any number of zeros, that means this kind of string you have double zero or triple zero followed by double one. So if you have 0 self transition and then again 0 1 0 1 1, if you have this kind of a string, this also should be accepted, right? So if you have 0, if it is q0 upon 0 is q0 only, and q0 upon 1, so you are going to q1. So q0 q1 at, if have 0, then go back to q0. That means you are going back to the transition q1 upon 0, you are going to q0. So it will be like this. Okay, now see the q2. At q2 we have not defined any transitions here. So delta of q2 comma 0 is what? Delta of q2 comma 0 is what? Here if you have 0, you cannot have cell transition. If you have moved to q2 from q2 to q1, q2 to q1, so you will have 1101, like that symbols will come. So try to 11011. If you have a string like this, what will you do? So here if you see the skeleton, 1 1 will give me to q2. So if you have 0 here, move back to q0. That means it should always end with 1 1. So that means q2 upon 0, we are going to q0. So that will be q0. So q2 upon 1. q2 upon 1, if we have a string like this, 1111, so that means any number of strings at q2 should have a self transition. That means q2 comma 1 is what? Delta of q2 comma 1 is a self transition, because it can have 1 1 1 or 1 1 1 1 1, like this. These kind of strings also should be accepted. So we have a transition table of q2. Now design the step 5 is start the designing of your DFA. We'll start with q0. q0 upon 0 is a self transition. Sorry, we'll start here. q0 upon 0 is a self transition. q0 upon 1, we have a transition q1. Okay, at q1, if you have 0, it will go to q0. If it has 1, it goes to q2. That is a acceptance state. At q2, if you have a 0, it goes to start state. q2 upon 1, it is a self transition. So this is your final DFA. What is q? Q is your q0, q1, q2. q0 is your start state. So here also we have to indicate the first initial and the final state. Final state is your q2. What is your language? That is your 0, 1. So finally your DFA D is equal to Q sigma delta Q naught comma F, the 5-tuple mathematical notation, and you finally design DFA. This is your textbook problem. We have some 20 plus different kinds of questions available in the book. Please try to solve these many questions and get the hold of this pattern recognition and the design of DFA.